This is the Detroit Sports Podcast Network.
Do you play FanDuel and feel like you aren't creating consistent money-making lineups? Go over to the DFS Doctors on Twitter at the DFS Doctors and DM them with promo code Detroit Sports to get a free trial for their analytically formulated 70% lifetime profit rate NFL and NBA lineups. The whole purpose of playing daily fantasy sports is to get out there and compete and give yourself a chance to win. So go over to the DFS Doctors. Let them help you. They have analysts on staff that look at the best optimal lineup that you can put out there to win money. So why not take advantage? At the DFS Doctors, promo code Detroit Sports.
CBD is a game changer sweeping the nation. This hemp extract is the natural way to elevate your mood, eliminate aches and pains, reduce anxiety, and keep you sleeping all night long. It can even cut your workout recovery time in half. Get in the game today with 20% off all orders of CBD and lavender products from Lavender Lane, a lavender farm located right here in Milan, Michigan. Just go to lavenderlanemi.com today and enter coupon code Detroit for 20% off your entire order. Guys, look, these amazing products are infused with calming lavender to maximize their effectiveness, meaning your CBD items only take minutes to take effect, which is way quicker than those pills you were about to swallow. On top of it, they are perfect for men and women. Lavender Lane has lab-tested CBD creams, tinctures, and roll-ons that are perfect for any situation, even if you're on the go. Put your health back in your hands by heading over to lavenderlanemi.com and entering coupon code Detroit for 20% off your entire order of CBD and lavender products. What do you have to lose? Your satisfaction is guaranteed or your money back. So if you need lavender gifts for your loved ones or just looking for the natural way to ease your discomfort with CBD, go to lavenderlanemi.com and use coupon code Detroit to unlock these miraculous benefits of CBD and lavender. That's lavenderlanemi.com. And remember, use coupon code DETROIT for 20% off your CBD and lavender products from Michigan's own Lavender Lane.
And welcome to the latest edition of Sundays with Dominic and Vito. I am your host, Vito Geronimo Chirco, as I like to say. My brother is not here, but I have a stellar guest in-house with me in the voice of the Oakland University men's basketball team, Neal Ruhl. Neal, how are you doing?
Vito, what's going on, man? It's great to be back with you. Excited to get a chance to rap with you guys again, Detroit Sports Podcast, man. I've always talked about it. What you guys have done, your growth, everything you've done, it's been impressive to watch, and I'm glad to be a part of it here today.
Well, good to have you on, and also the voice of Detroit City FC, the soccer
Correct,
club.
Yeah. Channel 20 this year,
Channel
too.
20.
Local television. It's popping.
That's awesome for you, man. And now, Detroit City FC, really quick, has just built up its following over time. And can you tell me a little bit about the team and its origins as well? Because I'm not really knowledgeable about that, Neal.
Yeah, essentially, when I came on board, I mean, I knew of it, but I didn't know of it, if that makes any sense. And when I came on board, they were playing back at Cass Tech, and they had set up the streaming component of the matches, and I was calling the matches from a press box at Cass Tech with clouded windows that when it rained you couldn't see out of all the way. But they talk about it, and the slogan is the narrow pitch that changed the soccer world because it certainly did. And what they've done is organic. What they've done has been impressive to see. And it's taught me a lot. This will sound kind of mushy. It really will. And I'm not pandering to anybody because I'm just telling you exactly how it makes me feel, is that they've taught me what a community can do when there's motivated people to a cause, all the stuff that they've done in the community. They've left soccer better than they found it. Despite what some soccer people will tell you, they've left their community better than they found it. And really, Vito, when the day comes and we're all gone, that's the mark of your legacy, right? Is what did you do to make a situation better than what you found it? That's what Detroit City FC has done, is that they've made soccer better than before they were there.
Leave a lasting legacy in anything that you do.
100%.
And Detroit City FC so far has, and gets more and more talent by the year, it seems like, as well, Neal. Can you speak upon that, too?
Well, I mean, again, just go by the scoreboard. When the seasons are over, when the matches are over, and I've been lucky enough to be a part of some pretty big moments, some pretty big victories. And you look at what they've done, and just in terms of winning championships, they've done it at every level too, from the MPSL where they started, moving up into the Members Cup, winning the championship last year against like legendary brands like the New York Cosmos. They won. I mean, that's the bottom line. They won. And looking forward to see what they do in Nisa this year. They're already off to a 1-0 start. They got a win out in Los Angeles. The match is scheduled for next week, the home opener at Keyworth on March 21st. And it'll be crazy. It'll be popping. And they have the talent to compete, as we saw. They already have a road win under their belt, and it'll be exciting to see. And their coach, Trevor James, I'm telling you what, man, what he's done since he's got to Detroit City has been impressive to watch. What they do from a tactical standpoint, what they do from an organizational standpoint. I mean, he's a pro. Trevor James is a pro. Okay, spent some time for a little soccer organization called Barcelona. I don't know if you're familiar with
a little small soccer club, right?
A little light work. MLS as well. Coach David Beckham out in L.A. I mean, he's been around the game at the absolute highest level, and it shows. It shows with what they do on the pitch.
So people love their Detroit City FC football, okay? Now, MLS, there's been talk about it in the past, and then it's been, well, it hasn't happened, obviously, up to this point. Now, it's because of, I know a large sect of the Detroit City FC people, too, they don't want it to happen. So do you think, my question for you, Neal, is, do you think an MLS team could ever fit here in the Motor City?
You know what, Vito? I get asked that question a lot, and I'm not trying to cop out or anything, man. I don't know. I don't know. The answer to that question is way above my pay grade. Like, there are people that make those types of decisions that have that kind of money. I don't know, man. All I know is that there's 8,000 people, 8,000 people at every Detroit City match. All I know is 25,000 people watch the stream, a Detroit City FC match. I know that works. There's empirical evidence that works, and that's really all I know the answer to, my friend. Not trying to cop out on you or anything. That's just what it is. That's a reality.
No, I appreciate that honesty from you, Neal. And then moving on to this now. You came into my house, me as a Detroit Mercy alum, donning this OU Golden Grizzly hoodie.
Yeah.
So I know you're a proud voice, the proud voice
and
of
an alum
OU men's
as well,
basketball.
yeah.
And an alum.
And an alum.
So I want to touch upon that Metro Series rivalry now.
Is it a rivalry, Vito?
Well, honestly, okay, so I'm biased as an alum, but I don't see it right now, Neal. And I want to get into that a little bit without offending too many people out there.
Right.
But Detroit Mercy hasn't picked up their end of the line. I mean, 2 losses this season. How many wins do they even have against OU head-to-head now? It's not many. I mean, you would know. I forget what it is actually for Detroit Mercy right now. But OU has dominated, as you know, since joining the Horizon League against Detroit Mercy, Neal. So what do you have to say about the rivalry and what it currently exists as?
Because you coined the phrase rivalry, and when you talk to Greg Campy about it, and you know you've talked to him.
Yeah, and I have too.
John's talked to him. He pulls no punches about that stuff. It is a rivalry. And that's really where it starts. And I think in my mind, Detroit Mercy, that's really where it starts because it's personal, man. Rivalries aren't games. They're not. Like, there's some underlying meaning to it.
There's more to it, right?
There's more to it. There's underlying value to it. And people in and around the Oakland University community, man, it's more than a game. It's personal, man. And that's and I think we see this right with Ohio State and Michigan in football. It's very similar to me. Like, I try to relate things to terms that people can understand. There's a lot of Michigan football fans out there right now. I think the Oakland Detroit thing is very akin to what's going on with Ohio State and Michigan. I believe, and this is me, it means more to the people at Oakland. Just like you would have to say, if you're a Michigan football, if you're the staunchest Michigan football fan, you would have to say it means more to Ohio State than it does to Michigan. You know how I know? Check the records. Facts are facts, man. And talk to Greg Campy about it. Next time you talk to him, just in passing, ask him about that. Say, hey, is this Detroit Mercy, this Metro Series rivalry, is that just another game? You'll be
no.
Yeah, you'll be entertained by the answer. No, it's not.
And I appreciate his bluntness, as you know, color and candor. I mean, Greg Campy, he's an expert in it. He specializes in color and candor. He's got to be, Neal, and you've interviewed a lot of people now, one of the best people to interview. That is underrated, too, because he's at a small school, relatively small. It's not really that small, as you know, at OU.
Over 20,000 students now, neck and neck with Western Michigan in terms of students.
And they keep growing.
Right.
But I guess for a small school compared to Michigan State and U of M, Greg Campy doesn't get enough love and recognition for his color and candor, I think. Can you talk about that, Neal, too?
I think, being around Detroit sports media people, I think they like Greg, and they go to it. And you'll see this, too, as, if they do get into the March Madness, if that does end up happening, you'll see Greg a lot in, the media around town, and his opinion's very valued because, as you know, I mean, we play all these teams. We play Maryland, and Syracuse, and Michigan State, and, I've been in every cool college basketball gym in the country. There's some economic reasons to that, but the moral of the story is, Greg's an expert in this field because we're on the court against these teams. And he's entertaining to listen to. And I'll say this. So he has a weekly radio show on WDFN 1130. That's your home for Golden Grizzlies basketball. Huh? You like that?
I like that. Nice plug.
On the iHeartRadio app as well. But he has a weekly radio show on Wednesday nights that we do from RJ's Pub in Rochester. And I just wind him up and let him go, man. All I am is a buffer between commercials. Come in and out of breaks, and I wind him up and let him go. He always has a lot to say. And yeah, I'm appreciative of that just based on my line of work because there are some people that are in this industry that don't have the same luxuries that I have, I guess.
And now recently he flipped it around on you where he interviewed you for a video I saw.
Oh, yeah.
What was that experience like? I didn't really watch it intently, but I know he did flip it around on you and interviewed you, Neal.
Yeah, I had to go ahead and wrestle back control of that conversation because I am the media expert, and I'll get him to say what I want him to get him to say. I hope he listens to this because he'll rebuff that. But no, he's fun like that, though. This isn't life or death. I mean, it's not. It's a basketball game, but at the same time, it's important. But he's a lot of fun to be around, and there's never a dull moment. I'll say that.
No, there never is, and even in a down year for OU, which it was. Mm-hmm. Now I know you guys did win a conference tournament game, though. I know that did occur.
Well, we did. We beat Cleveland State in the first round,
and then we lost
at Green
game.
Bay, right? Mm-hmm.
So. All right year for OU, but based on what Campy's done over there at OU and in the Horizon League, there's been a lot better seasons in recent memory too for Oakland.
Yeah, I mean, and there were some, people will say excuses, but there were some underlying reasons as to why. I mean, you lose your top scorer to the transfer portal, you lose your point guard to the transfer portal, which is what happened, and we will see this again. We have already seen this begin to shake out. Again this season. This will be the new reality with college basketball, especially with the free, the one free transfer. I mean, it's good. It's basically free agency. It really is. It's essentially free agency, and you're really going to see this punish mid-major teams. Now, that will always fly under the radar because some of the top mid-major players now will be eligible to just pick up and go to a Power 5, and the Power 5 fan base, they'll be happy. So you'll never really hear it get its due that it should, but this is going to be destructive to mid-major basketball. There's no other way to say it. I would challenge anyone that says, no, Neal, you're wrong. No, we can sit down and debate it anytime.
Well, see, so it leads into my next topic. It was going to be about that, the transfer portal, which I know OU was hurt by a year ago.
Right.
Hurt its odds of winning this year and its consistent productivity on the floor this past season. And now you see it affecting mid-major specifically because these top players at the mid-major programs are jumping in the Power 5 conference squads that you noted, Neal. So can you elaborate upon how big of an issue this could become moving forward? Because it's already been, as you labeled it, destructive for a lot of these programs.
How do you develop a player now? That's my question. I mean, if you're a mid-major, and look, here's the difference between mid-majors and Power 5s. It's money. I hate to shine the light on it for everybody, but that's what it is. It's money. They have more resources, more financial resources, bigger budgets, all that type of stuff. So when you're at a Power 5 school, and Oakland has shown this, right? You take a guy, you develop him, like a Keith Benson, who was an NBA draft pick, big man for the Golden Grizzlies, like a Kay Felder, who was an NBA draft pick, maybe overlooked a lot because of his height. Keith Benson, overlooked a lot, lightly recruited. When you're Coach Campy and you're the Golden Grizzlies coaching staff, you get these guys onto campus, you develop them, you turn them into all caliber, all league players, NBA caliber players. You know how I know? They got drafted. I don't know that you'll ever see that again. And then that's sad. That's
how sad is that thing? I mean, that can make some OU fans, alums cry, and mid-major school alums, including myself at Detroit Mercy, because these schools need to get that underlooked, under-the-radar talent, and then needs to keep these kids, right, for 3-4 years and develop them. Mm-hmm. And that's how you're going to win a conference tournament and win a tournament game or two come March Madness, right?
Right.
Without having those kids around in your program for 3-4 years, How are you going to win now NCAA tournament games too, Neal?
And it goes back to when you look at Oakland. So Oakland's been to 3 of the last 15 NCAA tournaments. And in 2010, 2011, they went back-to-back NCAA tournaments. They had a 17-1 conference record both those years. They had a 20-point lead in like 48 straight conferences. Some crazy number where they had 20-point lead. If we walked in your gym, you were down 20. That's just the way that it was. There were 7 pros on that team, 7 professional players. I mean, and look, I know Coach Campy will tell you this too. I mean, the reason you don't hear more about those teams is because we never had that moment where the buzzer beater to put us in the Sweet 16. We never had that moment. Our shot from Reggie Hamilton against Texas spun out. And I always go back to the line from Rounders when Matt Damon talked about it. He goes, "You never hear about guys who take their shot and miss." And you never do. You only hear about the guy. You only hear about the shots that go in. That's just the way that it works. So, I mean, from that being said, you're never going to see a mid-major team that produces 7 pros again because none of them will stay. Because how you divvy up the playing time to keep everybody happy, and if they're not happy, then they leave. And I'm not saying I have the answer. Now, please, everybody, I'm not saying I have the answer. I'm not paid enough to figure out that answer. If somebody wants to pay me enough, I'll come up with an answer for it. But until they do, I'm not the man to look for answers. And I'm not crying about it or anything like that either. I'm just telling you guys what the facts are. You're never going to see that again because we're in that type of society where if things get hard, you leave. And I'm not saying it's wrong for everybody. Again, there are both sides to the issue. But with all that being said, I don't have the answer to it, but you're never going to see that again.
So Campy has had the Summit League success, the Horizon League success, but as you already noted, Neal, no NCAA tournament success, no wins in the Big Dance.
Right.
How much?
We got one in 2005 because of the play-in game.
Okay.
We got the play-in game win, and then we played that North Carolina team where they had 4 of the first 12 NBA draft picks.
Crazy
their
good,
sixth
right?
man was the number 2 overall pick, which is humorous.
Go up against them.
Right.
I think of Detroit Mercy when they made it with Ray McCallum and had to play Kansas first. Come on, man.
Yeah.
Not going to happen, like for OU in that circumstance. Right. But now, how much? Now, you know Campy very well. How much do you think, and do you know that the lack of Big Dance success for Campy eats at him?
Well, he's a competitor, so I'm sure it bothers him. I mean, but again, when you go back to that, and I know fans look at it equally, but at the same time, the resources aren't equal. You know, the standing and the food chain is not equal. And that's not to say you can't rise up, and that's not to say that Oakland's, Greg Campy's not a competitor. I mean, I just to relate it, I feel the same way. Like when we go to broadcast these games, right? They have an engineer, a statistician, an on-site production manager. They're 2 talent guys. Like when we go into a gym, it's just me setting everything up, and I traffic everything and do all the ads, but I don't care. Like when we sit down and the ball goes up, I want that broadcast to be better than what Michigan State's broadcast is. And I expect it to be. And I'm sure that's the attitude that Greg Campy takes into it too. Like, I don't care about what the scenarios are or what the resources are or anything like that. When the ball goes in the air, we want to win. So, yeah, I know it eats at him. I know it does. I mean, that's the fabric of what he is. He's a basketball coach. He wants to win games. And, yeah, I'm sure it bothers him. I know it bothers him. I mean, I travel with these guys, right? I see him not sleep. I see him when we get on the bus to leave an arena. I see him on the iPad watching the film from the game, breaking down what if I would have made this call here? I mean, it's his existence, man. It's his life. So yeah, it bothers him. Whenever we don't succeed in something that we're passionate about, it bothers us. It bothers me. I'm sure it bothers you. I mean, that's human nature.
If you're a competitor, right, it's going to bother
you if you don't win.
No matter what the lack of circumstance or what the circumstances are, the lack of resources are, right?
You expect yourself to win.
Absolutely, all the time.
Every time you do it. Every time I put a microphone on, I expect to be better than the other person. And I'm not saying that to be an ass. Like, I'm saying that because I genuinely 100% believe that.
And the most successful people in any industry, I think, have that competitive vibe and edge to them. Mm-hmm. The Kobe Bryant, Black Mamba mentality. Yeah. You don't have to be a basketball player to have the Black Mamba mentality,
just a
right?
Killer mentality.
Killer mentality. And I think of Kendrick Nunn. I want to second to that really quick now, too. A huge success story for Campy and OU right now, who... Now, it wasn't the typical transfer portal kind of scenario because he transferred from a Power 5 program in Illinois to OU and dominated in that year at OU. And now he's a stud with the Miami Heat.
Right.
Can you talk about him, the guy he is, from what you know, and the kind of player that he is that you know all about as well?
The thing that struck me about Kendrick when he came to Oakland, he was on a different level. I mean, certainly he's uber talented, but what really struck me about him, he was on a different level, quote unquote, professionally. And when I say that, I mean nutrition, work rate, the way he carried himself, everything that goes into being a pro. And that's something like when you talk to professional athletes, they always say, it took me X amount of years to learn how to be a pro, to be serious about what I put into my body, to be serious about my level of preparation, to be serious about sleep, to be serious about everything that goes into, because it's a 24/7 thing, right? To put everything that goes into being ultimately successful. Kendrick Nunn was way past his years as far as maturity goes. I never had a doubt that he was going to be successful because he already was. Like he was grooming himself to be that before it even all started. And all he needed was a shot. He didn't get drafted. He signed a G League contract with the Golden State Warriors. And he said, all right, this is where I am. Went in, was a G League All-Star. Miami Heat put him on the roster for the last game of the season last year. He got into training camp, did his thing. And now, he's, although Zion's making a push, I mean, he's in the discussion for Rookie of the Year. He is. I mean, that's incredible, and that's a testament to Kendrick. And he deserves everything he's getting because he worked for it. He had a personal setback or whatever it was. He didn't let it define him. He went to work. He did what he had to do. He put all those questions aside. And I went down there in November. We had a tournament in Florida. We played in the Sunshine Slam just outside of Orlando. And I went down there with our video guy, and we got some footage of Kendrick, and I recorded a podcast with him. And just the look on his face and how happy he was and all that kind of stuff. I'm really, really proud of Kendrick. I'm really, really happy for Kendrick, and he deserves every ounce of it because he worked, he was on the grind, and he did it, man. A lot of people talk about it. He did it.
He went out and got it done. And now, unfortunately, as we all know, the NBA season has been suspended due to the coronavirus outbreak that has become a pandemic as well. So much more severe than I think initially thought and broadcast by a lot of people. So now we know it's a severe thing, and so many people now have been infected, right, with the coronavirus. Right. And now the NCAA tournament as well, we know spectators will not be allowed to attend those games if the tournament even happens at this point, Neal.
Right.
It's a bad state for sports, but it's more important than sports, right? This transcends sports.
Oh, yeah.
It's about the nation and the world and people staying healthy as well.
No, there's no question. And I boil this all back down to it's not about you, right? I mean, it's not about you. It's not about me. It's not about the players on the floor if they're, as far as them, if they catch the virus or whatever, they catch the flu or whatever. It's not about that. It's about everyone around you, right? And I'm glad to see that attitude has been prevalent with people and say, yeah, I'm not so much worried about it. I'm worried about the other people that are around me. And that's refreshing to see because I think that gets lost a lot in today's day and age. And look, it's a basketball game, man. Bottom line, it's a basketball game. Does it mean a lot? Yep. Is it important to a lot of people? Yes, it is. But the bottom line is it's a basketball game. And this is as real as it gets. And I think locally, as we record this, we saw the news drop yesterday with two players from the Utah Jazz testing positive for this. And I looked around with what was going on in Italy. There was a player for Juventus that got it. I mean, it's real out there in those streets. It's real. And again, for me, it all just goes back to it's not about me. It's not about you. It's about us. And I'm happy to see that. But as you and I were talking before we went on the air, you have your people on social media that, say, hey, you don't be afraid. Go live your life and stuff like that. It's not up to you. It's not up to me. And look, I'll point the finger back at me. It's not up to me to set the regulation in place for how you feel or what you should do. That's not up to me. I don't have your experiences in life. I can't comment on what makes you feel safe or doesn't make you feel safe. And so I respect it. And yeah, would you rather be overly cautious, way too far overly cautious, than underly cautious? I think we all know the answer to that.
I think taking precaution is a necessity right now, and you have to be overly
100%.
cautious for sure. Like you said, it's rhetorical. Should not even be a question that has to be asked to anybody. It should be rhetorical for sure.
Yeah, but
it's
in
not.
our day and age, it is a question that has to be asked,
I know.
sadly, to some people.
Sad but true, definitely. And now, so you see the NBA season having been suspended, but the NCAA tournament has not yet. The Big Ten tourney has still been played out.
Well, as we...
And now, what's the latest?
Yeah,
Do you have
I
an
was
update
just getting
too?
some notifications that Michigan game was just canceled.
Good.
So there you go. I mean, that'll tell you the story.
In March Madness now, these tournaments are going to be delayed. And now I would love for them to be played, and we can talk about that really quick here too. I think they could and should be played at some point, but postpone them. So you don't have to cancel them per se, right? If we get all this under wrap, right, and where it's contained at some point, let's say in April, you could have the tournament, mid-April, late April, maybe early May, and I know these kids are graduating and school's ending, but I think that's still a feasible scenario, perhaps, too, for these tournaments to happen.
Yeah, I mean, I don't... Again, that's way above my pay grade.
I don't know. I'm speculating, too. I would hope, right? Don't we all hope? Because these kids that will never play again, as we know, Neal, right? Or like from these mid-major programs. I think about those kids especially.
Absolutely.
They've made these runs. They have a chance to succeed now in the tournament, to live out these lifelong dreams and have a lifelong memory forever. I would just be so saddened by the fact that they don't get to play.
No,
you know?
and I agree with you, because let's boil this down. You get 4 cracks at this ever in your life. And that's why, I mean, kind of on a side thing, and this is where I had compassion even for the rival, Detroit Mercy. And Antoine Davis lost a chance to play in March Madness for something that he didn't have anything to do with. And that's when you really start to realize... These kids, they have 4 cracks at this ever in their life, man. I mean, can you imagine if you knew there was something in your life you're only going to get an opportunity to do maybe 4 times, how much that would mean to you? And so, with all that being said, yes, I hope for their sake that they can find a way to do this. But also at the same time, it's a basketball game. And this is coming from me, right? Like my livelihood, how I make my money is in sports. That's my job. That's how I feed my family. That's how I have a car and a house. But it is just a basketball game when you boil it all down. If smart people who are in this profession, it's what they do, if they decide that it's not in everybody's best interest to be in that scenario, then okay. Then it's a basketball game, man, and we move on.
You know what? It's bigger here, right? What's going on, obviously. It's bigger than sports. Right. It transcends basketball, it transcends sports altogether. So these tournaments having to be delayed, maybe canceled, it's just the way it is, right? And we have to truck along. And think about the people that are employed by these teams that maybe are hourly wage people.
Yeah.
And Mark Cuban now has come out, I have to commend him, the owner of the Dallas Mavs, and has spoken about these employees of his that work inside the arena and inside the arenas of all these different NBA franchises. And he has spoken about a program being set up for these people so they can still make some money. Because like you said, even yourself, Neal, you depend on a paycheck from these teams, right? And how are these people going to live out their day-to-day lives now without these games happening?
Yeah, and it was a scenario for me where I was scheduled to do some NBA games that obviously now it has gone away. And I'm not asking for people to cry for me or anything like that. I always talk with my kids all the time, and I really try to drive this home. Like we are very lucky because we have a good life, right? Like we go to the grocery store and we're able to buy groceries and all that kind of stuff, and don't have to choose between heat and groceries and all that goes along with it. There are people out there that are not like that are not in that situation. And like the people you're talking about, that is income that those people count on. And that is what's unfortunate about this whole scenario. And props to Mark Cuban, man. I really like Mark Cuban. I really do. He has a really progressive... I go back to what I talked about earlier, where it's not you, it's not me, it's us. Mark Cuban, who is a millionaire, billionaire, whatever, however much money he has, he really seems to be about that as well. He really does, and props to him for saying, hey, I want to put something in place where we can take care of these people. I'm for that, man. Again, I'm trying not to be sappy or anything like that, but man, we're all in this together, dude, and nobody's immune. It doesn't matter how much money you have. As we found out in the last 24 hours, it doesn't matter what kind of celebrity you are, how much money you have. The clock ticks for everyone in some form or fashion, and I am happy to see that, no question.
And it's about uniting as a nation. Now, we live in divisive times. I don't need to tell you that, Neal, or anybody that's on Twitter.
Sadly.
But it's about uniting. So forget your political party. If you're really into politics, if you're a Democrat or Republican, forget all that and throw it all to the side. It's about uniting now as a nation to deal with this virus and to overcome it, which can happen. Right? We pray, we hope. There's medicine out there. There's scientists and experts that believe it will end at some point, too. But like you had said, it's above our pay grade as well.
Right.
So we have to worry about the well-being of everybody. And canceling these games right now is about the well-being of everybody. Forget the league, forget the sports. And there is that right now, Neal, as well.
Yeah. Players have this.
Right? Rudy Gobert, you brought up.
Players
Donovan
have
Mitchell
this.
now, right?
Think about that for a minute, dude.
Yeah.
And here's kind of the backstory to it that I don't think people think about. And I was talking with it about my wife yesterday. I don't even think she fully understood it. She doesn't listen to anything I do or watch me on TV or anything, so don't worry, we're clear here. But I told her, I said, the Utah Jazz played here on last Saturday night against the Pistons. So now they're asking the Pistons players to kind of self-quarantine themselves, and anyone that was around I mean, it doesn't take a lot. We forget how together we are, how united we are in our daily interactions, man, our day-to-day interactions. And you forget, man, because we get so consumed with what we do on a day-to-day basis and how quote-unquote important we are or self-important we are or all those types of things. I do it. You do. Everybody does it, man. You forget a little bit about the outside world. You forget about your neighbors and those types of things. But, it is. We're all intertwined in some form or fashion, and it doesn't matter, man. Money, celebrity, status, none of that, dude. I just want people to be happy, man. Be safe and be happy.
You know what? It's human nature to forget about kind of how bad it is at times, too, and we go in and shake somebody's hand. Like, we're not supposed to do that right now. So you're a friendly person. You just can't do it. But we forget in our day-to-day interaction with others. And like you said, so Little Caesars Arena, you have people that have gone through there now, right? Rudy Gobert's played in numerous arenas recently.
Yeah. They stayed at the Book Cadillac Hotel downtown. How does that impact that? The people that work there.
Affecting everybody.
That's what I'm saying. And this is just our little world here. I know Detroit Sports Podcast is global. And
now we're global. We're trying to be global, right? Thank you, Neal, for that.
I know it's global. But, think about that. Anybody who's listening to this right now, you can kind of do the Kevin Bacon, 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon separation or whatever it is and kind of track your way back to it. I mean, it's real, folks.
And back to sports really quick. So on a lighter note, now more fun note. Now, all of this going on in the NBA season being suspended has led to more speculation about the NBA season starting later. Maybe in mid-December, Christmas Day as the unofficial start date of the NBA regular season anyways, as we've known for many, many years. And then maybe the season lasting longer subsequently and dragging on until mid-August, let's say. And Atlanta Hawks CEO Steve Koonin, he brought up this idea, which is an interesting concept, Neal. I don't know how much you've read into it yet.
Yeah, I have.
But it's interesting, man. And I really see some feasibility to it, because you don't have to conflict with the NFL regular season then by starting later in mid-December, let's say, and you would conflict then if the season extends into August with the baseball season, which I love, but I know how it is nowadays with baseball. People don't watch it nearly as much as they used to. So ratings-wise, which they care about in the almighty dollar, those owners do, and the players, obviously, and they need the money. Well, to make as much money as possible and to get as high of ratings as possible, it seems like this is a beneficial idea to pursue. What are your thoughts on it at this point?
No, I would agree wholeheartedly with that. And one thing that the NBA has proven, they can pull a ratings number, and they are a star-driven league, and you don't have to look far to understand that. And you look at the TV ratings in China, like this TV deal, the NBA is a very firm number 2. Very firm number 2. Past the NHL, past Major League Baseball, all that stuff. Look at these monstrous TV contracts that they're bringing in because of China and Asia and everywhere over there. It's truly is a global game. You look at the Eastern European influence in the game itself with European players, and Luka Doncic is one of the faces. Nikola Jokic with the Denver Nuggets. I mean, these people are all players from Europe that it truly is a global game. The NBA, maybe more than most, is a very global game right now. And their TV contracts reflect that. And any move that they can make to kind of move out of I don't want to say the shadow of the NFL, but let's be real, like ratings-wise, the shadow of the NFL is a smart move. And we as a society Again, don't kill the messenger here, guys. I'm a big baseball guy.
I am too. That's the thing. Like, I'm not trying to kill baseball. I do a Tiger Talk podcast. But trust me, that's my favorite sport.
Yeah.
My first love, as I like to say,
I'm not trying to kill baseball, but you line up baseball with the NBA, and what's going to happen? You know. Mm-hmm. We both know the answer to that. Are people going to watch baseball, or are they going to watch LeBron versus Joel Embiid?
They're going to watch NBA.
They're going to watch the NBA.
And the ratings will be helped out by not conflicting your sport with the NFL regular season.
Yeah.
I think it's beneficial, and we saw it a few years back with the lockout. Remember when they had to start on Christmas Day?
Right.
They did. Huge success, huge numbers all year round.
And that would
Why
be
not
that's how I would do it. I would just start on Christmas Day and then move forward. And if you got to wrap it up at the end of July, then you wrap it up at the end of July, man. And what difference does it make?
There's a star power factor, too, right? So you can carry a season. You start later. The stars will carry you throughout the year. Even during the summer when I know it's inside an arena. You can't be outside. Baseball's outside, and it's the summer. People love baseball because it's a summer sport, too, right? That's a big draw for people that aren't even huge baseball fans. But still, you're going to get people inside of Little Caesars Arena if you got the star talent there. Right. Now, for the Pistons right now, they are lacking that star talent, obviously. Mm-hmm. And that's another topic I want to get into really quick here, Neal. Because they are lacking that. But now they're going through a rebuild, and I think they're doing it the proper way at this point. What are your thoughts on the state of these Pistons and the direction they're headed in currently?
Yeah, I mean, rebuild is probably the right word. My hope is you look at Christian Wood and what he's doing right now. I mean,
he has blossomed.
They may have found something here.
I agree.
And it's exciting. And we saw Sekou Doumbouya have a spike, right? And then, we went through the little in-season sophomore slump, I guess you would say. But he appears that he may be in the process of righting the ship, I guess you would say. And I have a good story about Sekou too. And I'm very good friends with some of the G League, the Grand Rapids G League team, some of the people on their staff. And Sekou gets it, man. Like, he understands now about the level of work. And remember, he's 19.
Crazy, man. Under 20. It makes us feel old, right? I'm 26. It's like, oh my God, this guy's...
Well, I just go back to what I was at 19.
You think what you went through, right? You think of that, right, guys? For all of us, we weren't mature. I don't care how
I was
mature
a disaster
you were.
At 19 years old.
A lot of us were, guy or girl. We were all disasters, right?
Yeah, and just how he's understanding the level of work that it takes to not only survive but thrive in the NBA, and also too, there's a really good story where they were in a G League town, a little bit of a smaller town, as a lot of the G League teams are. And there were no restaurants. They came back post-game. There were no restaurants around for them to go eat at. So he ordered food, got like the Uber Eats, ordered it for the whole team, the whole staff, everybody.
Beautiful.
Took care of it all, sent it all. Those are stories you don't hear about. Those are stories that aren't in the media. But when you're 19... I mean, think about the wherewithal to do something like that, especially in today's day and age.
Think of that.
Yeah.
And to make it happen, I don't care how much money you have. You could be a millionaire, and you're still not going to get somebody to do that. I don't care what. It's more about willingness, right? And I do that a lot with people, right?
Yeah.
Ability. There are people that have the ability to donate money or to do that, cover people for something like that, and a nice gesture. But how about the willingness of the individual, right? That stands out, man. It means a lot.
Put it on himself, got everybody fed, got the Uber Eats hooked up for everyone. Everyone had a good time. And those are the kinds of things where certainly does it matter what he does on the court? 100%. That's not all that matters, though. You have to have signs that he gets it. And stuff like that, to me, is a sign that Sekou gets it. And we've seen the moments, man. We've seen him have the flashes. Remember, folks, he's 19. I was a disaster at 19.
A lot of us were. Not just Neal Ruhl. I was too, and a lot of you guys out there listening right now to this very podcast were disastrous. Let me just say that. But when I think of a good person on and off the floor, at least from all accounts, Blake Griffin, too, is another guy that really stands out that I want to get into. Rehabbing an injury, out for all this season now pretty much.
Yeah.
And you would hope he gets back and is healthy for next season with the Pistons. Your thoughts on him moving forward as a member of the Detroit Pistons?
Well, he's a pro, right? Like, we saw that from day one when he walked in. And I actually, on the Golden Grizzlies coaching staff for a year, we had an assistant coach, Deion Phelps, that was on staff at Oklahoma when Blake Griffin was there at Oklahoma. And he would tell us, we'd be on the airplanes or whatever, and he would tell me stories about Blake, about how a lot like Kendrick, and you're noticing a theme with all these people, was all business, man. Nutrition, all of it was all business about everything he did. And he was a pro in college, a lot like Kendrick Nunn was. And the baseline for these guys is such that, look, I think Blake would be the first one to tell you that his game, although if you go by the metrics, last year was probably the best year of his career in terms of totality. But maybe the explosiveness, the hops, maybe that's not what it was. I mean, certainly it's not what it was. Father Time gets everybody. But he came in and really studied that organization from a professional standpoint, how he goes about his business, how he handles the media, the workout, the weight room, all that stuff. He's a pro. And look, the organization took a swing with Blake Griffin. They did. It's a star-driven league. With all due respect to the 2004 Pistons, I mean, you do. Since 2004 to now, every champion's had a star. I think that's safe to say. A lot of times championships make stars. But even that Pistons team, they had 4 All-Stars on that team.
People forget about that because they dogged those Pistons, but they made All-Star teams and multiple All-Star teams. A lot of them did at least.
Absolutely. And people forget that stuff. I mean, did they grind? Did they, quote-unquote, go to work? Yeah. They were good, too, man. Like they
you
had
have
a
to
lot
be
of
good
talent.
at first. Sure, you can work hard, right? We know it.
Yeah.
That's a huge component, but you have to have some talent at the end of the day as well.
Yeah, and the Pistons organization took a swing with Blake Griffin. They did. I know a lot of people are panning them right now, but I give the Pistons a lot of credit for that because they stepped up to the plate. Tom Gores put his money where his mouth was and went and got Blake Griffin. And so right now I think with him and where he's at in this role, I think if you look at the Pistons and especially where they sit financially, they're going to be in a very, very good position, going forward. I think given the situation they were in versus what they have done to rectify that situation, I think it was a real good year for the Detroit Pistons. I know people are going to give me heat and they're going to call me a slappy and stuff like that, but I just say go look at the books, man, because financially they're going to be in a prime position to be in the market.
So in so many words, Neal, you trust Stefanski, what he has done, and what he will be able to do with this team to turn around the franchise moving forward.
Well, I mean, again, just going back to the situation that they're in financially, go look at it for yourself. I mean, with what they've done, it's been pretty impressive in a short amount of time, given limited resources to move. I mean, people were critical about the Drummond trade. That the market's the market, man. Like
there's nothing for him out there,
Vito,
right, to get in return.
I want to put my house up for sale for $1.5 million.
We would all love to do that, right? But realistically,
I need someone to pay $1.5 million.
And who's
for it
going
to, pull it
to, right?
off,
Where's the
no one's
demand? There's no demand.
Right.
You can't get it.
Yeah.
We can talk about it all day long, and people like to do this, right? On Twitter especially.
Yeah.
Back to that. Hypotheticals. We're going to land this draft pick, these multiple draft picks, this highly coveted young guy that's in his first or second year in the league.
Yeah.
Realistically, though, are we going to do that?
Yeah, you're not
Why
getting $110,000
right?
for your Dodge Caravan. You're
No,
not
it's
your
not gonna
2009
happen,
Dodge
man.
Caravan. It ain't
Yeah.
happening, brother.
No, you can keep dreaming and dreaming for a while. And maybe the dream is for the Pistons, right? The dream is for them to win a championship one day. Now, not going to happen this coming season, or this season right now if it continues to be played at some point. But I want to get to this now. Who is that team that stands out to you that if the season resumes and we have the playoffs, we have the finals, that can win it all?
The LA Clippers, man. And look, I think, especially for the Clippers, maybe more than any other team, and a lot of the LeBron people are going to get upset about that.
I'll just say,
they're going to
big
get upset
time outcry
about
from them.
But you look at what the Clippers did at the trade deadline, right? And the pieces that they acquired. And when you go up and down their roster, they got some dogs on that team now. Defensively, they got some dogs. And it's interesting to me the way that they've constructed that roster, especially at the trade deadline, because you have guys that aren't going to care. Like Patrick Beverly, when he's defending, he doesn't care.
I don't care how tall you are or how big you are. Yeah.
Patrick Beverly doesn't care about Anthony Davis. So I'm sure he respects him as a player, but he doesn't fear him. We know Marcus Morris doesn't care who's across the court. We know that. We've seen time and time again. If I'm walking through an alley, I want Marcus Morris on my side.
I do too.
But the NBA playoffs, you get in the Western Conference playoffs, that is a dark alley. And I want the Patrick Beverleys, and I want the Marcus Morrises. And I'm telling you guys this. You watch, and Vito, you mark my words, man. There will be a game in the playoffs, and I don't know which one it'll be, but there will be a game in the playoffs in the middle of the third quarter. Reggie Jackson will come into that game, and he will take over that basketball game for a 6-minute stretch. We saw it. His very first game with the Clippers. Played like 11 minutes, had 10 points and 9 assists and 5 rebounds. You watch and see. He will have a game where he comes into the game and takes over, And Kawhi, man, I know he's different. I know he's a different cat. I know he has a shoe deal with New Balance. I know that. But he's a different level, dude. If I got to get a bucket, Kawhi Leonard's not a bad choice, dude.
And him and Paul George together, not
Yeah,
United in LA. They didn't mention Paul George,
Yeah.
but they have the depth. They have the depth factor to what you were getting into, Neal, and the dogs.
And they have a mentality.
Defensive mentality. They're going to grind it out, but they have talent. When you have that combination, man, it's hard to beat in the postseason when teams do have to grind it out, right? But you also still need that guy to make the game-winning bucket.
Mm-hmm.
Reggie Jackson can take over maybe for a quarter, let's say, but the guy that can hit that game winner, Paul George, Kawhi Leonard, multiple options. I know the Lakers have some talent. Obviously, LeBron and AD, right, leading the way. But still, LeBron's a little bit older than those cats with the Clippers, Leonard and George specifically. And Davis, I know he can shoot the outside jumper now, but still, are you going to trust Anthony Davis making that jumper from outside or Paul George or Kawhi Leonard with the Clippers making that when the time counts?
Yeah, and Kawhi's resume speaks for itself.
Right?
Man.
The most recent champion.
Yeah.
And he's done it like with anybody, it seems like, too, at this point as well, Neal.
Yeah, finals MVPs, all of it. I mean, when all the chips are in the middle of the table, man, Kawhi Leonard's the guy out of all those. And look, I'm a big LeBron guy. Let me qualify. Don't say I'm a hater or anything. I'm a big LeBron guy. I think if we started throughout the history of basketball, if we started with a draft, I think the top 3 picks in no certain order would be Shaq, Wilt Chamberlain, LeBron. I mean,
Michael Jordan?
Michael Jordan.
LeBron or Michael Jordan? He's number 4. LeBron ahead of MJ, though?
I mean, if you're starting a team, dude, and look at the dynamics of him as a player. Look at the size and the speed and the strength. I mean, he's got. Look, you can lean Michael Jordan. I'm not going to die on that hill. You know, certainly there's a resume there with him. And I'm not going to tell you you're wrong, but you can't tell me I'm wrong either if I want to take LeBron over him.
And by the way, I agree with you.
Yeah.
So there's no debate from this side of the table here because I've only seen realistically LeBron in his prime. I didn't see MJ in his prime. I saw him with the Wizards. What was that from Michael Jordan? I mean,
everybody goes through that. You got to take that with a grain of salt for what it was. But LeBron, just the physical specimen that he is, and the power, and when LeBron decides he's going somewhere on the floor, no one's stopping him.
It's like get out of the way almost, too. It's still a freight train, right? When he drives to the lane. Really quick, Neal, I'll leave you with this. So if the finals do happen this year, what is your finals matchup? You got the Clippers in the West.
Yeah, the Bucks. Yeah,
okay, the Bucks too.
I just don't see.
To be honest, just too good with that team and the roster around them.
Yeah, and I don't fully buy into Miami when all the chips are in the middle of the table. And Kendrick's a great story, and I love Jimmy Butler. And
Duncan Robinson, my God, what a story! They have some good stories.
They have some
You're
good stories. They
but
do.
It's more than having a good story.
But you got to pack the gear.
Yeah.
To beat and Giannis, man. I mean, just that length that he has, and he's such a dynamic player. And I was in Green Bay. That's where Oakland lost in the second round of the Horizon League tournament. I was in Green Bay, and I was out at an establishment the night before the game, and I was talking with the bartender there, and I said, hey, like, I know everyone's on the train and everything like that, but are you guys prepared for Giannis to leave? Because he's coming into the last year of his deal.
You hear about that more and more, right?
And he turned and he goes, I can't talk to you right now. And he turned around and he walked away.
He was disgusted, but it's a reality now more and more, right?
It is a reality. I mean, and that was, I think that had a lot to do as much as anything else. You know, the new arena and the revenue structure and everything they're trying to do. That town has been transformed. I go there a lot. I've been there a lot over the last year, maybe 4 or 5 times I've been there. And that whole downtown area is like all Bucks branded now. And it's championship mania in Milwaukee. They're all buying in. And I just don't see how Milwaukee does. There's no one in the East, I think, that can pack the gear to beat the Bucks.
Well, that's the thing, Neal, right? Who's the team then? Who's the biggest threat to the Bucks in the East? People have said in the past the Sixers, just maybe the Heat, but they got to prove it to all of us, like you said. Who's that team? The Celtics then? I guess maybe the Celtics.
No,
maybe.
no.
I don't know.
Vito, again, I mean, it comes back to this. If you got to bet your mortgage payment.
Yeah, you've got to put money on this, right?
Who you putting your money on?
I got to put money on the Bucks too.
Yeah,
well, look at their regular season record. Yeah. I mean, that's easy enough right there when you see that. And now, some people will dog the Bucks because of maybe their lack of a supporting cast a little bit. But look at the regular season mark. They have less than 10 losses. And Chris Middleton's better than people think, too, by the way.
Yeah, people around here view the Chris Middleton thing as, when he left the Pistons and stuff like that. I mean, that's That's certainly not the case.
He wasn't this good back then, right?
No.
He's developed.
Yeah,
and
he's
guys
developed.
do.
Yeah, people don't just walk in and dominate, dude. I know, like in our on-demand society, because our coffee's ready in 30 seconds, like we think that's the way that the players are too. Everyone kind of develops at their own pace. I go back to talk about my college days when I was a disaster. Like it took a minute to get the engines fired up in that. I mean, that's the way it is for everybody.
Well, to become this good of a play-by-play guy as you are now, Neal, honestly, right? I mean, how long did it take you to get to a point where you feel that you're confident every single time the mic goes on?
It's interesting, man, because that wasn't up until about 2009-10 season was my first season doing play-by-play for Oakland. I did it the year before in student radio, but that was my first professional year of doing radio on WDFM for Oakland. I didn't feel truly comfortable until probably about 3 years ago, whereas I don't get nervous. I just show up and it's my job. I mean, it took 6 years of doing this and emceeing events and being up on stage and being in front of the camera and doing the Channel 7 Sports Cave and doing Pistons games and doing all that stuff. Like it took a long time to be 100% chill with it. And what it really took was, so I do soccer for ESPN too. Like I do USL soccer, and I have to go to a studio down in Fort Lauderdale, just outside of Fort Lauderdale, Florida. I go back and forth all summer long to do that. Getting those different experiences of doing a game from a studio where you have it on a screen and you're doing the play-by-play for it, and then being in all these different environments, right? Like at Detroit City with a clouded press box, or doing a high school game back when I first started all this. All those different experiences give you the confidence to know that I can get by in any scenario. My information is prepped all the same way for everything I've ever done. I know exactly where everything is. It's all color-coded. There's nothing to be nervous about. I know it all. I mean, without knowing it, without having to memorize it. And that's where, it took a long time. But now I feel truly confident to sit down and do whatever. So
you said you've called games off of a monitor then.
Yeah.
You've done that as well.
Mm-hmm.
And calling them live at the event, at the venue itself.
Right.
There has to be a big difference, right?
It's not... Because I remember when I did my first game for ESPN, it was really weird for about 6 or 7 minutes, and then I settled in. The only difference is it would be a lot easier, I feel, to do for basketball than it would be for soccer, because of the width of the field in soccer. On the monitor, I can't quite see who's running up on the wings into the play. Now, I have a good suspicion of who they are, but I have to wait until they come into the screen because I don't know where they are. But I mean, I'm not one of these announcer guys that's really self-important like a lot of the people are. It's just a job, dude. Like I'm not the story. The game is a story. I've approached every single game like that, whether I've called Kevin Durant, which I have, or whether I've done a high school soccer game, which I've done. Believe it or not, I prepared for them all the same, and I trust my preparation, and I don't think that it's not that big of a deal to me. I know announcers get all flustered when you talk about doing it. I like the game, man. I like the story of the game. I don't care where I'm doing it from.
And you let the play develop in front of you first. Like you don't want to overtake the action and what's happening on the screen.
No, and I do hear a lot of announcers do that. They kind of anticipate. Yeah, they kind of anticipate what's going to happen, and you don't have to do that. You never have to do that. Like, even when you're doing radio, you don't have to anticipate. Like, wait till it shakes out. It's a half a second. It's a half a second.
Patient.
Dude.
Patience is a virtue, right? And it's hard for a lot of announcers who want to be the star, though, too, right?
They do.
And that's what it is.
They do. And look, everyone in this business has an ego. They do. And certainly I have an ego, but you gotta check that from time to time, man, because it just let the play out, man. You're not the story. The play is the story.
And Neal, really quick, one unique thing about you. To end this week's edition of Sundays with Dominic and Vito, what is that one unique thing about you that many people do not know?
I'm a big smooth jazz fan.
Okay.
I really, really like smooth jazz. I don't like it all the time. Like if I'm driving to work or if I'm going to the gym or something like that, like I don't have it on then. But on a Sunday night, maybe if it's raining out or whatever, I'll turn on the smooth jazz. I miss V98.7, although it is on HD now, which is kind of cool.
Is it okay?
Yeah, so I'm back on the V98.7 train, but I do. I like smooth jazz.
And I bet it calms you down, and it's relaxing,
100%,
right? When you want to just relax, sit back, you got that music for you, right, to entertain you.
Absolutely, and I like to sit out on my deck And I've become quite a bourbon connoisseur, like bourbon elite, like a bourbon snob.
That's your drink of choice.
That's my drink of choice. Just sit out on the deck and have one with the baseball game on, and I've got a fireplace on my deck, and put some wood in the fire, and have a bourbon and watch the game.
I love it, man. Kick back and relax and watch a sporting event like that, right? When it's nice out.
Yeah, because I don't watch movies and I don't watch shows.
So no Netflix for you then?
No, I mean like the Gronkowski. I mean not the Gronkowski, like the Aaron Hernandez documentary.
It's a good doc.
When there's sports stuff on there, I'll watch it. Like the toys that made us. Certainly I'll watch that kind of stuff. But I don't go hunting for it. Like usually I'll see people talking about it on social media, and I'm like, oh, that sounds interesting. Maybe I'll try that. But yeah, man, I don't do shows or movies or stuff. I just do sports. Like it's what I do. It's what I do for work, and it's what I do in my personal time too.
I love it. And with that being said, Neal Ruhl, man, one of the best play-by-play man in the land.
Appreciate
now,
that.
I like to say. Great stuff at OU, Detroit City FC, USPBL for ESPN with soccer. You've done it all pretty
Fill
much
in
now,
for the
man.
Detroit Pistons,
Fill
yeah,
in
man.
for the Pistons,
if you got a check and a microphone, I'll be there.
You will be there. A lot of us should have that mentality as well.
Yeah.
Neal, thanks for all the time, man, and best of luck moving forward.
Thanks for having me, man. Well, see you later.
Appreciate it.